Welcome to our final class video for Writing 102. I can't believe we've already made it here. Today I'm going to start by talking about the assignment sheet for our final reflections, which you should be drafting throughout this week. I did get an email question about whether or not you have to write about writing class specifically. You can bring in information about writing class. I'd love for you to do that, but no, you don't have to. It really is about reflecting deeply. This is in the assignment sheet. Reflecting deeply on what has happened and what you've learned. And you can approach this assignment in a number of ways. I'm going to show you some student samples today that might inspire some revisions here in the next few days. Don't forget, I did give you 3 prompts. We've been working through these prompts in sort of discussion board style on ed blogs this week. Now, I've seen some participation in those discussions wane a bit, so if you were not able to participate, it still might benefit you to go into ed blogs and look at what your classmates have been writing. A lot of it's really beautiful and thoughtful, and it might spur some ideas for you as well as you think about your own project and some revisions you could make this weekend. Don't forget, all of these readings are on Blackboard if you want to reference those. They're in Unit 4 under Unit 4 Resources. Don't forget too that this can be a traditional blog post, but it can kind of take other forms as well. It could be sort of like a photo essay, a letter to self, a listicle. There's all kinds of things you could do. The writing needs to be around 500 to 1,000 words, but what you do with it from there is sort of up to you. And then grading, again, is mostly on depth and thoughtfulness, and being specific about your experiences. So to do that, you might want to list names of places. You can think about Lena Dunham's essay and how well she does that in her "There I Was" kind of section of her essay. You can use artifacts with photos or hyperlinks to things. And you just want to push past sort of the general, "I learned a lot this year." Be honest and true to you is a big part of this final reflection. So let's look at a couple of student samples just to kind of show you how varied my final reflections can be sometimes. One is from a student, Lauren, from last semester, and as you can see, she actually used a website. She built a website for her final reflection. You do not have to do this. You can do all of this in the blog space, but this was just sort of Lauren's style. She liked building websites. And she has pictures up here, and the way that she formatted her final reflection was really in a series of letters. So to my teachers, to my roommate, to my parents, to my sisters, and then this poem that she wrote in the center from a leaving college freshman to an incoming freshman. And so this was a really lovely way to approach the assignment, and very different and thoughtful, and I appreciated it. Then we have this one. This is from Paige from last year. Hers is very much a traditional blog post, but her audience, she wrote it to incoming Ole Miss freshmen. And so that was sort of like an intended audience. One of the things I loved about hers, I've highlighted here, is where she almost sets it up like the Lena Dunham piece with "embrace the fact." So that's she uses the repetition of embrace, and she gives us lots of real details here. So she says, "Embrace the fact that walking into the levee on your first syllabus week, there's so many freshmen in there you can barely walk. Embrace the days in the Grove when you're in your best dress, sweating your butt off, just waiting to walk to the vault." Notice again, she's using specific terms: the vault, the Grove, the levee. She says, "Embrace the nasty sunburn you get from your first game in the student section, watching people drunkenly jump in the fountain, or jump in the fountain yourself," right? So even just by reading this, a lot of you are probably having these memories too of your first year. And so that's what you want to think about. And when I say add those specifics, add those things that people could connect to if they've had a similar experience. Now, one that I just loved from last year that I thought was so just interesting and smart. So this is Riley. He starts with this picture, and then he wanted me to play this song as I read it. So I'll just play a snippet. He had it, here, this Pink Floyd song. And then he wrote this paragraph, which is so interesting. He says, an important aspect you will discover here is that college and life isn't a set path. You are bound to change drastically, and that is definitely going to reflect your goals too. With the freedom that comes with being independent, there also comes a freedom in the choices we make. One thing I've learned so far about life is that it's mostly a set of blind questions with unpredictable answers, and college well represents that truth. And then you'll notice here he says that is supposed to be the final paragraph of this reflection. I thought, since I'm at the end of the beginning of college, that I would put the end of this paper at the beginning. And he's very playful like that as you move along. He talks a lot about his audience is sort of like to you as first year students yourselves, but it's also about him. And even here at the end, he says, you may pass a class, you may fail a test, but most importantly, you'll grow. This path just continues on and on and on, and stop and start at the beginning. And he says, no, really, go back to the start of this paper and read again. And so, again, that start of his paper is ultimately the conclusion of the paper, too, which is just so interesting and fun, and so very much like Riley. It was just sort of his personality. So, I encourage you to let your personality shine through too. If you want to run anything by me, you're welcome to. But don't be afraid to take risks in this final reflection. But do make it have heart, and for sure, writing is the ultimate goal here. So make sure that it's there's stamina in your writing, and you're really exploring some things that matter to you from your first year experience. Real quickly, just to end, we're going to go back to the calendar and talk about a couple of things. I do ask that you guys go in and fill out this survey on things that I could improve for next year. All of your comments are anonymous. This will sort of serve in lieu of student evaluations. A lot of the questions here are also related to the mindfulness sessions that we've done this year, and I know we had to cut those short this semester, even though I still made it a part of your practice at home if you were able to do it. But then other things are about transitioning to online classes, how that went, and then there's room for you guys to give me specific feedback. And I would really appreciate that, especially if we do have to go online in the fall, which I'm hoping we won't, but I'd like to get your feedback to kind of know what works and what doesn't. So if you'll go in and fill out that survey, at your earliest convenience, just so you don't forget things if you wait too long. I also wrote y'all a little letter here at the end that I'd love for you to read on your own. And then don't forget you need to post your final reflection to your blog space. So that's fine. You don't have to turn anything into Blackboard. Just post it on your blog space by the end of the day on Sunday. And I'll be getting that feedback to you throughout the week next week. I will also send you guys an email once all the final grades are calculated next week so that you can go into Blackboard and see what your grade will be ultimately. If you need to ask me any questions about your grades, shoot me an email. I'll be checking email throughout the week, maybe not as much once the weekend starts. Guys, it's been a privilege to be your teacher this year. And thank you for all of your hard work, especially in these really challenging times. And please don't be a stranger next year. Come see me. I'll still be around. All right. Y'all have a great weekend and have a great and well-deserved summer. Thanks.